Civil War was certainly a time of great transition, and something was definitely on the way out. Something was changing. And Lincoln, in the election of 1860, won the popular vote by only 39.8%. That's all he received. Yet he won majority of the Electoral College. And the reason he won, basically, is because the Democratic Party was hopelessly split into two factions, a Northern and a Southern party. And then there was another party called the Constitutional Union Party. And Lincoln's advisors told him to stay in Springfield, don't campaign, don't give any speeches, don't show your face, and you will be the next president of the United States. And that's what he did. All right, so he wins the election to President of the United States, and back then, he wins on November the 6th, and on March the 4th, which is when he took office, that was a 4-month transition period, and I think we've just gone through a shorter transition period, but the Confederacy did not even give Lincoln the chance to become president. They basically seceded. By the time Lincoln actually took the oath of office, 7 states had already seceded from the Union to form the Confederate States of America. More states would later join, but they had created their own constitution, they'd formed their own Congress, they'd sworn in Jefferson Davis as president of the Confederacy, and with them they took the control of almost all of the federal forts and arsenals in the South. They took control of the Mississippi River, which was lifeblood of the nation's commerce and trade. And Lincoln's cabinet, the presidential cabinet had disintegrated, and so had Congress, and there were only 16,000 men in the federal army at that time, and many of them were Southern sympathizers. So you might ask, well, what did the current president of the United States do during this time? Well, he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything to stop it. And when James Buchanan left Washington, he is reported to have said, "I am the last president of the United States." People believed that there were 2 countries now, and that was it. It was over. And into this situation walks this man who had no formal education to speak of, 1-year total schooling by his own admission. He was a 1-term U.S. congressman in the 1840s, had no military experience to speak of. He was an elected captain in the in the Illinois militia for the Black Hawk War, and he said the only battles he ever had were with mosquitoes. And he was a Washington outsider, known as a country hick lawyer from the West. And he had never before held an executive leadership position of any kind. He hadn't even been president of his Rotary Club. I mean, one of my students looked at this picture and said, you know, he kind of looks like that guy Kramer on Seinfeld, too. You know? What would you do if you were in a situation like that? And I ask this question because history is interesting, isn't it? But when you can bring history alive, realize this is a very real situation. And I asked myself, my God, what did he do? I mean, how? We all know that he preserved the Union in about 4 years, basically 1 term, but how did he do it? Let's look at some of the things he did.